concepts of chemistry to solve a fictional crime scene, and they will be able to perform tests on the evidence and use the results to solve a crime. So basically what happens is that they make up a fake crime. They give you the suspects that they think might have committed it, and they give you a bunch of evidence for you to identify and analyze. And using those results, you have to find out which suspect actually committed the crime.
That's fun.
And we could split the test into three portions. Number one is chemical identification. This is where they give you either real or pictures of lots of chemicals, such as powders, polymers, liquids, hair, fibers, mixtures. And using those pictures or using the real given evidence, you have to be able to identify, like, hey, this is lemon juice or that is cat hair. And the next part is chemical analysis, where they give you fingerprints or chromatography or DNA, or my favorite is blood splatters. In order to, you have to analyze them and figure out which suspect they belong to. And the final part is the final analysis, where you have to tie all your evidence, all your analysis into one big essay and talk about who you think committed the crime. This so one big change that is going to happen from this year to next year for anyone who is planning to do Crimebusters next year. I've been doing Crimebusters for 3 years, but in all those 3 years, those were COVID years. So we did all virtual tests, which means we didn't do real labs. But if you're doing Crimebusters next year, then expect to do real chemistry labs. You have to go in person and test all the chemicals by yourself. So like just saying. And I just want to take the time to go through a real Crimebusters test just for y'all to understand what a Crimebusters test looks like. And speaking of Rickrolls, there was a test about Rick Astley, but unfortunately this isn't. So first they give you what the crime is. They say Cobra Games creates amazing RPG games. And they created Doomslayer, which is a game, and it gained lots of attraction from audiences all around the globe. And everyone loves this game and blah, blah, blah. But then, however, things took a turn for the worse for the company when the CEO of Cobra Games was found dead at approximately 9:13 a.m. in his office. And they give more fictional stories about how the police arrive at the scene and find lots of evidence, including a blood splatter, a dead corpse, a fingerprint on a weapon left by the perpetrator, and many other pieces of evidence. And then always they give you 5 potential suspects that could be responsible for the murder. So you got number 1, which is the Nate, the programmable calculator, and they give you lots of information about the suspects that has his or her motives or why he want to commit the crime and what evidence could possibly link to him. For example, if they say that he likes tanning in his nylon spandex blending bathing suit, then you can assume that when you find nylon fiber, it's probably from Nate. And then we got more suspects such as Dream and Raken, and we got Dreamstan too, and Chad Brettenstan. And then the section A is quantitative analysis. This is just the same thing as chemical identification. They give you a bunch of tables and you have to identify them. For next year, they won't give you tables. You'll actually have to test each and every one of these yourselves. But this is a test from the virtual invitational. So they give you tables and you have to identify them. And then there's liquids and metals. And then next comes hairs, fibers, and plastics. And on and on and on. And at the very end, it requires you to first say which suspect committed the crime. And then you have to write this long essay about why the suspect is guilty or why other suspects aren't guilty. So that's a Crimebusters test for you. And before I start anything, I would like everyone to go on this link. I'll share the link in chat, but you can also just get it through searching up Scioli Crimebusters on Google. It should be the first result that comes up. We'll need this site for later because it has wonderful tables that will help you identify various chemicals in the Kahoot. I'll give around a minute for everyone to go on this link. The link is posted in the Zoom chat, and you could just search it up on Google by searching up Scioli Crimebusters. And when you are on the website, scroll down, and the first table you'll see is a table marked qualitative analysis. And there is a huge table with powders, liquids, metals, etc. Just hang on to those tables and we'll use them for later.
What does off-white mean?
What?
What does off-white mean?
What does what mean? Can you put that in chat?
For one of the table options, it says the color is off-white.
Oh, off-white is it just means gray.
Oh,
So if it's like a grayish color, like a grayish whitish color, then it's off-white. All right, I think that should be enough time for everyone to go on the website and scroll down to the table. If you haven't already, the link is still in the Zoom chat, so you can just go on it right now. So the hardest part of the identification section is powder identification. There is a huge list of powders that you need to know for Crimebusters. There's stuff like sodium acetate or like baking soda or plaster of Paris or vitamin C. There's a bunch of powders that you need to be able to identify right away for the test. And there are a variety of ways you can figure out which powder is which. The easiest way, of course, is color. Color can be very easy in distinguishing stuff such as a yeast, because yeast is usually yellowish in color. But other than that, most other powders are white, so color wouldn't usually be a big consideration. Acidity sometimes is very important. For example, vitamin C is the only powder that is like very, very acidic. Vitamin C has a pH of 2, as you can see on the table on the wiki website. Crystalline shape sometimes also help. For example, sodium acetate has a very irregular shape, while stuff such as sugar has a very crystalline regular shape. Science Olympiad also requires you to know its reactivity with hydrogen chloride and iodine. For example, here you can find out that sodium acetate does not react with both hydrogen chloride and iodine. But for stuff such as Alka-Seltzer literally reacts with everything. So it also reacts with HCl and iodine. Science Olympiad also requires you to know the formula of every single powder. For example, the formula of sodium acetate is NaC2H3O2. And maybe some other special notes. For example, sodium acetate is exothermic when mixed with water, which means that when you put it in water, it gives off lots of heat. So let's just do one practice with powder identification. Go to your table and look for a white soluble powder that clears iodine. What powder is that? A powder that is white, is soluble, and clears iodine. Tell me in chat. All right, I'm getting mostly correct answers, but to whoever said calcium, I don't think calcium's on the uh list anyways. Yeast is definitely not it because yeast is number one, not soluble. Number two, does not clear iodine, and number three, it's not white at all. It's not sodium because sodium does not clear iodine.
What's the chemical classification for iodine?
What?
What's the chemical classification for iodine?
What do you mean by chemical classification?
Because they have like the I don't know.
You mean chemical formula?
Yeah.
The iodine itself is an element, so it's simple as I. Yeah, I'm getting lots of correct answers here. Vitamin C is the correct answer. Because let me go on the website too. Remember that we're looking for a white soluble powder. I mean, white soluble powder that clears with iodine. And when we go through the list I think the biggest indicator is that it clears iodine. Most of the powders here have no reaction with iodine. A few fizzes or blackens it, but vitamin C is the only powder that clears with iodine. So that's how we know it's vitamin C. Good job, everyone. So next is liquids. I won't spend too much time on liquids. It's basically the same way to identify. Just look at its color, its acidity, its reactivity. Another thing is its odor. For example, lemon juice has a lemon odor, and rubbing alcohol has that really like alcoholic odor to it. And yeah, the next part is metal identification. Again, basically the same thing. The only other thing is magneticism. Um, Iron is the only element that is magnetic. And yeah, this is an example of aluminum, and we can see how we can use stuff like such as density or like its reactivity to figure out uh what metal this is. And next part is the hair identification, which is one of my favorites. Science Olympiad requires you to know three types of hairs: dog, cat, and human. And using different microscopic images, you can figure out which type of hair it is. So the biggest indicator of human hair is that it has no core or no medulla. You can see that it's just this brown thing all throughout. There's no actual core inside. And that's in contrast to dogs, which have a huge core inside, this black core inside. That is a very, very big one. And cat hair is usually the most easy to distinguish. Number one, cat hair has a very scaly exterior. It has lots of scales outside, as you can see in this image. And inside cat hair, when you break it in half, there are lots of little balls inside. And these little balls also indicate that this is cat hair. No other hair has these little very unique balls inside. So let's do a practice. Using these reference images, what hair do you think this image is? Tell me in chat.
Cat.
Yeah, I'm seeing lots of correct answers here. You can tell that this is cat hair because number one, there are lots of little balls inside these little black balls. It doesn't necessarily have to be the same color as every single other hair. It's probably this cat probably has a really, really dark hair, while this cat has a light hair. And you can also tell the scaly exterior. It's a bit hard to tell, but you can tell that there are scales outside. And fibers are pretty much the same as hairs. You just have to examine its ulterior in a microscopic image. There are three types of fibers. There are animal fibers, there are vegetable fibers, both of which are natural fibers, and there are also synthetic fibers. Animal fibers are stuff such as like wool from sheep. That is a type of animal fiber. Vegetable fiber are the most common in clothes, I think. Those can be stuff such as silk or cotton. And the final is synthetic fiber, which is an artificial fiber, and that's stuff such as polyester. And the biggest difference between synthetic fiber or artificial fiber and natural fiber is just look how perfect polyester looks. Look at it's like perfectly smooth exterior, and it's like perfectly straight. Like it's almost like a stick almost. But like if you look at wool, it's like, or silk, it's not straight at all. It has a really rough exterior. So definitely not artificial. So remember, the way to distinguish artificial and natural fiber is just look at how smooth it is, how hard, how straight it is, etc. And oh yeah, this is another practice problem. So we got this fiber over here. So first, let's determine whether this is a vegetable, animal, or synthetic fiber. And then which type of fiber is this? All right, lots of correct answers here. Okay, I'll ask a follow-up question too. Why do you think this isn't silk, but cotton?
Because it's like twisted, like all around.
Yeah. So yes, this is number one, a vegetable fiber. You can tell this isn't artificial because it spins a lot.
Twisted.
What? Okay. It spins a lot and has lots of bends. And this is obviously a type of cotton fiber, as everyone said, because it spins much more than silk. Pretty cool. And then there's fingerprints. Fingerprints are usually a great way in Crimebusters tests to realize who actually did the crime, because fingerprints are the most definite form of evidence to prove that a person was there at the crime scene. So usually there are four types of fingerprints. There is the arch fingerprint, which looks like an arch. There's a tent arch, which is like a cliff. There's a whorl, which spins, and there's a loop. And there's, other than like actually looking at the fingerprint, in Crimebusters, you learn that there's like lots of other cool ways to figure out other facts from fingerprints. For example, police can detect drug use from the type of oil on the fingerprint. So if a criminal took drugs, then the police can figure out that the criminal took drugs just from the fingerprint itself. And there are other studies currently trying to find such as ethnicity, sex, or dietary patterns through just purely fingerprints. But of course, the most obvious way to use fingerprints is for identification purposes. People use things such as like this, that, and that. Sorry. So this, which is an island, and the split to just find each person's unique fingerprint. And there are multiple ways to extract fingerprints. This is one of my favorite parts about going through in-person tournaments. You can do stuff like this dusting, where you get this really, really fine dust and you spray it on top of the fingerprint. And then you get this special light and shine it on, and you can see this fingerprint super clearly. You can use photography. So if the fingerprint is very, very obviously like clear, then you could just photograph it. There's also fluorescent dye, which is just a special type of dusting. You spray a special type of dye that glows up when it meets the fingerprint. And there's also chemical reactions. I'm not so clear how this works, but it basically helps you find the fingerprints. For chromatography, for chromatography, basically how it works is if you have some sort of pen ink found on the scene, for example, if a criminal decides to bring a post-it note, then you could find out which type of pen the criminal was using, and I could just watch this video over here. I don't think you can hear the sound, but basically you put the ink in water and it crawls up this paper, and different types of ink cling to paper better. So you can see that stuff that has yellow ink, it does not travel up the paper at all, meaning that yellow ink does not like to cling to paper that well. And through chromatography, you can separate the various ingredients of a pen to figure out what type of pen it is. Pretty cool. Oh my god. So another quick practice over here. We got a ink on the crime scene over here, and using chromatography, we were able to get this piece of paper. And we also compare the pens that each suspect has. So using these references, which suspect, is it A, B, C, D, E, or F? Which suspect's pen ink is found on the crime scene? The people that said E, why did you choose E over F?
Because E is like thinner and like closer to the actual shape of the thing.
Yes, based on now it just looks similar. More
Yeah,
similar.
someone said the blotch at the bottom. That's how I know that E is similar to crime scene. But yeah, other people are all other correct. All right, let's move on. DNA analysis. DNA analysis is a fairly new technology. We use something called gel electrophoresis. And basically what happens is some pieces, this is very similar to chromatography. So some pieces of DNA cling to the gel better, so it moves along the gel much quicker than other pieces of DNA. And DNA is very important in modern crime investigation because DNA can be found everywhere. It can be found in blood, saliva, hair, and DNA is probably even a more type of definite evidence than chromatography itself. And yeah, here's another practice that y'all can do. We found this piece of DNA on the crime scene and did gel electrophoresis on it. And we compared the DNAs of all 5 other suspects. So which suspect does this DNA match? Oh, this is a hard one. All right, this is surprising. Many people are saying 1, which is great. Personally, I think this is a pretty hard one because even one doesn't completely match with the evidence found on scene because like this part doesn't match, but most other parts match. So I'll say that one is the most similar to X. You can see that gel electrophoresis is still a fairly new technology simply by just looking at how badly these things match to the actual DNA. And then after we're done with all the analysis, all the identification, there's a final analysis portion. I won't go too deep into it, but basically you have to say which suspect committed the crime. Let's say like Nate, the programmable calculator, decided to commit the crime. And you have to include the motives, such as Nate, the programmable calculator, wasn't paid enough, and therefore he was mad and wanted to kill the CEO of the game company. And then you have to use evidence such as saying Nate wears nylon clothes and we found nylon on scene, or Nate loves drinking lemonade and we saw lots of vitamin C on the crime scene. And then you also have to say why other suspects did not commit the crime. You can say how Dream did not commit the crime because his gaming YouTube channel purely depends on a game company. So he will not want to kill the CEO. And you will say like none of the evidence can be possibly linked to Dream. And yeah, we can go on to the Kahoot. Let me set it up.
If you apply like lotion or something to your finger or like DNA, will it like alter the way your DNA comes out looking?
Can we do a
Um,
mode in Kahoot?
what?
Can we do a different mode in Kahoot?
I don't think there's like other modes, aren't there?
There is.
Yeah,
Like-
there is.
It's a lot easier to just do like.
Yeah, let's just do classical mode.
For like this many.
Other
people.
kingdoms.
'Cause I really like the other ones. So
Color
All right, we got 8544034.
The screen is the slide share is frozen.
It's frozen.
Oh, is it frozen now?
Still frozen.
Oh my god. Wait, I'll stop share and share again.
it unfroze like the last moment, but
Bruh.
Yeah.
All right, we got. It does not even show how many participants I have. All right, I'll give 15 more
25
seconds.
to 25 people.
stay at the bottom right.
Oh yeah, it's blocked right now. I'll give 10 more seconds. Y'all have like some funny names out there. I might lose. Hi. Redisposo. All right, I'll start it. Oh yeah, make sure to have your Wikipedia page out so that you can identify them. Yeah, quick reminder, please open up your identification tables on the Scioli website, since there will be a few questions on identification. All right, number one, does Alka-Seltzer react with hydrogen chloride?
Wait, is it a metal or what?
Alka-Seltzer is a powder. You can tell by finding it on the table in the Crimebusters wiki.
Isn't it like a medicine?
Yeah, it is technically a medicine. It's like for the stomach, I think. Yeah, most people said true. So when we go to the table and find Alka-Seltzer, it should be somewhere here. Yeah. Remember how like I said Alka-Seltzer reacts with literally everything? It fizzes with HCl, it fizzes with iodine, and it fizzes with water too. So yeah, it fizzes with HCl. So the next question should be a giveaway. If someone actually gets this question wrong, I'll be so pissed.
The gift,
Yeah, the gift also gives it away. So easy. All right, I'll skip it.
Elephant tooth.
Somebody's gonna get it wrong.
Yeah. All right, this is a real identification question. We got a powder with a crystal shape, but it has irregular crystals, does not react with iodine, is soluble, has a pH of 9, and does not react with HCl.
technically there's only one that's irregular shape, right?
No, I think there's more irregular crystals.
Well, I only
Yeah, sodium acetate. Sodium acetate, in the question, it said a pH of 9. Here it says a pH of 8. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be precisely at that pH because, different powders may have slight errors in a pH, but
Here's the question.
still it's got that irregular shape and like it's soluble. So it's sodium acetate. Good job.
let's go. Identify this powder.
All right, we got a powder that has tan pellets
Yeah, I know what it is.
and smells like bread. Good job. I can see why you'll choose sand, but if you read farther, then it also said it smells like bread, and the last time I checked, sand does not smell like bread. This was taken directly from a invitational tournament. So you can tell like some pieces of information are pretty confusing. For example, yeast doesn't really have a crystal shape per se. And like, is it really soluble? I don't think so, but usually like they'll put those information in just to distract you, but the main like giveaway is that it smells like bread. Kobe still is number 1.
Let's go. Oh wait, where's the liquids? Yellowish.
We got a liquid that is yellowish, smells sweet, has a pH of 2, and does not react with iodine. I don't know how you choose apple juice, but the apple juice is not even on the wiki, but lemon juice is correct. Because number 1 is yellowish, obviously. It smells sweet since it's juice. It has a pH of 2 because it's lemon, and lemon is
On the wiki, it says it smells like citrus, not like.
It says, yeah, it says it's cloudy, yellowish. And the pH is 2 to 3.
Yeah, the pH is 2 to 3, so the pH is correct. And for the odor, you can't like completely rely on the wiki. The wiki may say citrus, but using some common sense, you can think that, lemon juice is obviously sweet, so there's obviously some sweet odor to it as well. And yeah, lemon juice is cloudy, but it doesn't talk about anything other than cloudy. Like it doesn't specify, so it doesn't matter. I appreciate the 2 people who put urine though. Okay, we got another liquid that smells sweet, but this time we have a pH of 7, which is a pretty neutral pH.
Oh, I didn't know.
It's not Sprite, by the way. That's not on the wiki.
Clear.
It's water or rubbing alcohol. I don't know.
Yeah, it's rubbing
missed it.
alcohol.
Yeah, because water isn't sweet. so-
Yeah, water is not sweet.
Yeah.
So isn't hydrogen
On the
peroxide.
wiki, it says that the pH of rubbing alcohol is 6.
It's 6. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's about the same.
Yeah. It is about the same. There's always some experimental error in it. Like lemon juice, like when you create lemon juice, for example, you're not going to get perfectly the same pH every single time.
Yes.
There's going to be some sort of variation in it. So you're looking, if the pH on the website says 6, then you're looking at a range from like around 4 to 8 just because of experimental error.
Unless you're making lemon juice in a meth lab.
It's going back up.
Who just said that? Meth lab? All right, good job, Kobe. You're up first again.
Identify this hair on the
Easy.
I might have done it wrong actually.
Smart.
Wait, that is like Selly, right? Bro, why would there be an ant hair? Ants don't have.
Never talked about ants.
Oh, wow. That was okay. That's definitely a hard one then. Okay, I can see why you would think cat. Maybe you'll see like these little balls inside, but I won't say they look like balls. They look more like a
Yeah,
solid,
it doesn't
thick
look like
metal.
it doesn't really look like cat to me.
In addition, there's no spikes on the outer core.
Yeah, no spikes on the
Exactly.
other core either. And remember how dogs have a very thick core inside their hair. So even though like the medulla inside this hair may be a bit like rough, it's still not balls like a cat. So I'll say like it's more like a thick medulla that a dog has. Oh, Kobe's still up first. Final question. Is the fiber below a natural fiber?
If anybody gets this wrong, I'll be amazed.
Can this type of fiber grow naturally?
Well, there's the people who just spam the answer and depend on luck.
True.
If anybody gets
If anyone gets this wrong,
Ooh. All right. So
What?
look at how perfect this fiber is. It's like perfectly straight. It's perfectly smooth. It's like the most ideal type of fiber ever. And
It looks
Like-
so neat.
clicked. I literally misclicked, so now I'm
like animals cannot create this type of fiber, and nor can like trees or wool, or cotton. So this is obviously a type of artificial fiber. I'm pretty sure this is polyester, but it's definitely a type of artificial fiber. And the podium comes.
definitely lost.
Kobe third.
I misclicked on the last one.
W and X.
I
Good
literally
job, X.
I misclicked on the last one, so that's why.
All right, I guess that's the end then.
Okay.
All right, y'all can leave. Thanks,
bye.
everyone.